My name is Bob Greene. I graduated from Parkway Central in 1978. And during those times, I was definitely a competitive swimmer and focused on academics. But I did want to discuss what an honor to go ahead and be inducted into the Hall of Fame and what this really means. Because it's not about me at all. It's about the expectations of what we are to do in the future, and not looking in the rearview mirror in the past, but again, how we can influence others. So I just want to give you a quick example. So it was about 4.5 years ago, and I was so fortunate, and I picked up the rank of Rear Admiral in the U.S. Navy. And a very senior admiral gave me a call, and he gave me a little bit of mentoring. And he says, you know what this means? It's not, again, about you. Look at all the people through your 30 years, those who've surrounded you, those who've supported you, other mentors, teachers, coaches, family, all of that. Never forget, that's the legacy that you're carrying, and you owe them a phone call. And so my wife remembers vividly. It was about 12 hours that February, Saturday morning, on the phone, because I happen to keep all the directories of those who I've encountered. And another 8 hours on that Sunday. I was on that phone for 20 hours. And in so doing, I contacted those way back, and were they elated in terms of receiving that phone call. They could not have been more excited. And I said, you know, it's all about you. It's not about me. It's about what you've done. You've supported me and who I've surrounded myself by. So what a tremendous feeling, being so humble in terms of knowing that this is what contributed to where we are today. But I also want to give you now a recent example. So it was last Saturday, and I formally retired as a Navy Admiral. And I asked the Naval Sea Cadets to be part of this ceremony. And it was in Houston. It was overseeing the battleship Texas. And these Naval Sea Cadets are ages 12 to 18 years of age. And this one young lady who was a junior in high school, and she wrote the most beautiful essay. She was asked by her leader after the ceremony. And it was so cute. She said, oh my goodness, we do so many ceremonies. And I always prepare days ahead of time, but I never realized, oh my God, this is an admiral ceremony. She said, oh, I was so nervous. I wanted to make sure that my whites were very clean. I wanted to practice my salute and my march. And when I found out I was going to be a side boy, which is part of the ceremony, where we have 2 real admirals walking through, I've never met one. Oh, what an honor. This is so good. And so she went through the whole ceremony, and she listened to all the speeches. And again, being myself, being very humbled, she says, what an amazing individual on all of the guest speakers and his 4 children. So I'm very fortunate, because my 4 children, I have a Navy lieutenant, is my oldest. My second is a Marine captain. My third is a beautiful young lady who's a police officer, and she marries a Marine captain. And my youngest is a second lieutenant Marine on his way to be a fighter pilot. So she listens to all these speeches, and she looks at the family holistically, and she says, this is it. This is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. And she's not living a very comfortable life right now, but the aspiration of not being limited by her immediate environment and what this meant to her and what she is going to do. And she's going to apply to the Naval Academy. So I read that, and truly my eyes started to water. And it all puts everything in perspective about what this really means. So again, going back to the induction and the Hall of Fame, it's an obligation that we have, because no one's going to remember your accomplishments, and that's not what it's about. It's about the impact on people and the legacy that you leave behind. And that's an obligation that we need to take moving forward, because this is what people aspire to, and if we can influence and help and assist, that is the path ahead.
Well, that's a true path of mentorship on your behalf, and that's very exciting.
Well, thank you, Mimi. Very good.
If you had any advice for students that are in the Parkway District right now, as far as their success on the forefront of that, what could you share?
So going forward, it's looking at, again, holistically in terms of the relationships that you have developed. So relationships with your family, relationships with your teachers, with your coaches. So you look at academics. My future, it's funny if you go back and you take a look. I actually went to a college day, junior year of high school, and I was at the Monsanto headquarters. And I was looking at engineering schools because I really enjoyed math. And we went to Tulane and Purdue, outstanding schools. And as we were walking out, my father says, "Hey, Bob, look at that, the Naval Academy. They're giving a presentation on a day in the life of Annapolis. Why don't we go by?" And I'm looking at the video, and not that everyone needs to go down that route, but the principle behind the video was a balance between academia, fitness, in terms of physical fitness and health, looking at your mental stamina and moral courage. And you wrap all those together, whether it's a naval profession or any profession that you pick. Truly, it sets what we would say a role model. And people aspire and look to role models. So if you're disciplined and you do that and you exemplify that on a day-to-day basis, and then you can share that equally with those that have guided and mentored you, that's where I think really is the commitment to success, on how you want to wrap all of that together and be that example. And it's not a part-time job. It's 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's a full-time job. And no matter how old you are, as you continue, and it won't stop with me. So for the next decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, however long, but it is, and it truly is, a feeling of pride to go ahead and know that you can have an impact. And the learning curve never stops. I mean, I learn from my kids. They bring different perspectives. So it's not a question as you reach a certain age of maturity that, hey, you have all the answers. Not at all. In fact, when you open yourself up and use that maturity to really understand and catapult of what others say, they learn from that too. So it's an evolving process, and it continues. There is no end, and that's what's pretty exciting for me.